Hey guys, it is May 18th, and I wanted to go over a few things with you for social studies and talk about some current events. Wisconsin's made some national news, and I just wanted to kind of go over a few things, maybe answer some questions that you might have had. But if you have any questions after this video because I didn't cover it, please let me know. You can add a comment in Dojo, and I'll answer those. So hopefully I can help you, or you can add a comment on the YouTube page as well. So I'm going to go over a couple of things and relate back some information to our government stuff that we've talked about in class, and we'll kind of go from there. So on Thursday, I've got a news article here from May 13th. So last week, we had a ruling from the Wisconsin Supreme Court that struck down the stay-at-home order um, from Wisconsin. This is actually on Wednesday. And so I'm not going to read the whole article here. Actually, this is only part of the whole article. But what it comes down to is last week, um, there was an order from our governor, Tony Evers, and his um, uh, Health and Human Services leader that said 2 months ago saying that we need to stay at home. They call it the Safer at Home order. Um, and that's kind of what led to our school being shut down, all that good stuff. And so that was overturned last week by the Supreme Court. Now, this more affects like businesses and individual people. This actually does not affect schools. So schools will continue being shut down for the time being. But this does affect businesses. So you might have seen more businesses opening up, and maybe your parents have talked about things like this. So there are some things opening up. So I just wanted to kind of cover what exactly happened there. So if we go back to this chart that I've used so many times, and that maybe looks familiar, we're talking about this state level here, right? So when we talk about being able to shut things down, all of that stuff, the federal level really doesn't have a whole lot of say. We're going to be talking about the state level here, right? Federal laws don't cover a whole lot of stuff here. Um, we talked about the different federal laws that are out there. There's not that many of them. And so we talked about the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the United States Constitution. There's just not that many federal laws. And so all of whether it's dealing with shutting things down and most of those orders come at the state level. And those are the people that are taking care of that. So back in March, our governor, Tony Evers, issued the Safer at Home order, which means that everybody was supposed to ideally stay at home. Businesses are shut down that were considered non-essential was the word they used. So a lot of businesses had to shut down, and that was coming from the governor, right, Mr. Evers. So he issued the Safer at Home order. Okay. Now our Constitution, which is that fancy word that deals with all of our laws, where all of those are written down, only allows the governor to do that for 60 days. So after 60 days, he's not able to do that anymore. And so we had people from the state legislature take the case to the state Supreme Court, right? So the legislature says we're the ones that should be making this law. The Supreme Court gets to interpret the laws, and they said that, okay, you're right, state legislature. And so the state Supreme Court, by a vote of 4-3, said that the Safer at Home Act should be taken away. And again, this applies to businesses and individual people, not so much schools. That's kind of a separate thing. Hospitals are kind of a separate thing. There's different things there. This has more to do with businesses and individual people. So 4-3. So it's a very close thing, right? We have 9 state Supreme Court justices. We talked about why it's almost always an odd number of people, so there can't be a tie. So there's 4-3, and there's a couple different reasons why people voted. Some of those justices voted for taking the ban or the Safer at Home order away, and some voted against it. Whether it came from the governor or somebody else, and there's some more details there, but essentially it came down to a 4-3 vote, very close vote, to lift the Safer at Home order. So again, to recap, the governor issued it, but he didn't have enough legislative support because they're usually the ones that make the laws. So the Supreme Court and the judicial branch overturned the executive order. And very close again, 4-3. So this was big news last week in made the national news. It was kind of all over the place. Still be talked about a lot today. So real quick, just kind of an idea of where we're at. I put up a couple maps of confirmed cases. This is total confirmed cases. This is per 10,000 people. So they tried to make it even to size, because if you have a bigger county, you're more likely to have more cases. So this is probably a little bit better map. And again, wherever you see more people, and I've talked about how most people in Wisconsin live right here. 2/3 live in 1/4 the area. You'll see that there's a lot more cases. It's that darker blue. That means more, right? So this would be less, and this would be more. And Barron County is easy to find. It's the square one right here. That's Square County. So very few cases, not too many cases, and it's a nice light blue color as far as confirmed cases here. So, and this is from Sunday. I did leave that updated part on here. This is from Sunday. So I tried to give you pretty up-to-date information. So far, we're doing pretty well in the northern part of the state, or where there's fewer people living. And there's a lot more to those statistics. They can be kind of tricky to understand, but I just kind of wanted to show you that chart, or map, I should say. And I just wanted to go into the information that I showed you guys came from a couple of good news sources, whether it's the Milwaukee State Journal. It's going to give you good information from Wisconsin, and Reuters is a news service that's pretty good information. There's a lot of information out there, so I want to make sure that you guys, if you are looking for more information, you're looking in the right places. And I talked about this in March. This is the CDC website. It stands for Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is the government agency that is in charge of diseases and controlling them. So these guys have really good information. This is all they do. Well before March, this is all they do is worry about diseases in the United States. So they have a really good, there's lots of good information on here. And so I would recommend the cdc.gov. And here's some recommendations that they have. So if you are going out in public, these are things that they recommend, is making sure you're covering your face and doing some of those things. So these are the recommendations from the CDC. But make sure that you guys are keeping your distance. They talk about that social distancing is the most important thing. That's staying 6 feet away from people when possible. Not family. You're fine in your house, but when you're out in public, trying to keep your distance from people. So this again is the CDC recommendations. And if you have looking for more information, I highly recommend them. They have lots of good information. This is what they do, is sit around and try to help people this way. So that was just a really brief overview of some of the government issues that they're doing. And if you have more questions, please feel free to leave me a message either in the YouTube or on Class Dojo, and I'll try to answer those the best that I can. And I know I didn't give you tons of details in here. Some are either a little confusing or very controversial, so I'm trying to keep everything on the level and giving you just straight facts and information. So if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or try to help lead you to the right answer. And I hope you guys are staying safe and are having a good week. It's supposed to be better weather and nice and warm, so I hope you guys get outside and play around and have some fun. So keep up your work and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great week, guys. Bye.